Last week we had Derek Brown on, and he tried to convince us all that Daniel Jones was going to lead a top 5 offense and had us draft Daniel Jones over Justin Fields. What happens today? I don't know, but we got Brett Whitefield here to talk rookies. There's nobody else at Fantasy Points striving harder to nail this rookie class for you. And guess what? We brought him in. I can't wait. What's going to happen? I don't know. What round does Scott phase out? When do we start making fun of him? Where does Justin Ross goes? Who knows? But sit tight. Get ready to draft with Fantasy Points. Best ball breakdown. Yes, and if you want to be like show regular Omega and draft with us, head over to Underdog Fantasy, use promo code FANTASYPTS. You can draft with us. We're going to get into that in a minute, but Scott, Chris, crazy week. Brett, thanks for joining us. Your rookie profiling has been, again, top tier. Do you have favorites that you're going into tonight looking for?
Yeah, of course. I think we did, Chris, there's probably some oversight here on our part with having me join the show because I always make fun of people that get rookie happy in best ball drafts. It's kind of like a shtick of mine. So now you're having me come on to talk about rookies we should draft in the best ball league. I don't know. But that said, there's plenty of guys I would like. If we're talking about the non-obvious guys, like some dudes I really like, A.T. Perry. I know he's probably not getting drafted in most leagues, but hey, last couple rounds, why not? I love that dude. Marvin Mims Jr. is another guy. Tyler Scott, probably another one. Some of these receivers I think will surprise people with the draft capital that gets invested into them. John Mingo would probably be another receiver I'm very interested in at the end of these drafts just because I think the draft capital investment will be higher than people realize. I think he's got a chance to be a contributor year one.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on best ball drafters being a little too rookie happy. I will just say this is the time to do that. There's just a lot of studies done on this, and it's the rookies on average who are being drafted before round 15 gain on average like a round and a half by ADP. And I'm not seeing too many players who seem expensive to me. And I think there's an edge for us because we have a Fantasy Points is the best, and they have you and they have me. So we have a better grasp on the rookies than anyone else. Maybe, like if you're going to draft rookies, now's the time to do it before they get more expensive. Maybe that's not not looking at it by, win rate or whatever, just looking at the cost of acquisition on these rookies. Like they're all on average going to gain like a round and a half by ADP. So get them while they're cheap now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Chris, how do you feel about the rookies right now? I know in our drafts, we tend to lean towards the rookie running backs at the end of the draft. Does any of that change for you now, especially 1 week leading up to?
No, not really. Yeah, I like taking shot. I know this running back class isn't everybody's favorite, but we're looking for guys that are just going to get spike weeks randomly, and a lot of these guys are going to end up being backups to presumed starters in the NFL. And injuries can happen at any time of the year, and you're not asking a lot for a running back to pay off for you as a rookie. He doesn't even have to be good. He just needs the opportunity. Whereas a wide receiver probably needs more than just the opportunity. He probably does need to be pretty good as well to really break through, unless the team has like serious injury issues or just not a great depth chart.
Yeah, well, you said this isn't everyone's favorite draft class. I think that is the right counter, is that this is a pretty bad draft class for fantasy.
Can I say one thing about that? The last time the consensus about a draft class was bad, we produced A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, and Deontay Johnson. So,
yeah, well, to be fair, I love that draft class.
I did too.
I thought A.J. Brown and Hollywood were both well deserving of round 1 picks. I missed on DK Metcalf. I missed on Deebo Samuel, but that was early stages rough draft of my model back when it was bad. Now it's good.
For the brand, can Scott take a shot of Jaeger every time he mentions Justin Ross? I mean, I'm for it.
Well, I'm sort of teetotaling right now. I've drank maybe like 3 times in the past 12 months. Just my stomach's been a mess. But should I get absolutely shit hammered for the live draft stream we're doing, Brett?
No,
Maybe do it. Maybe do a shot every time you hype up a player who's bad.
oh
So I'll
god,
be like 32 shots in
Oh
the
my
barrel.
gosh. A
and,
shot for every time someone
show's a
mentions
mess.
Bijan.
Everyone
Quentin,
thinks-
I'm just here for Brett and Chris's input. No offense, Scott and Thomas. Look, if anyone watching the show is taking my input and trusting it with their money, you're watching it for the wrong reasons. I'm here because I have funny buttons to push. Okay, let's not
That's what I'm
forget
here
that
for.
I
So
am
it's
here
fine.
to keep people on track. Okay, I'm here for their input as well. Derek says he's here for yes. So we'll see what happens. So right now we are actually looking and just waiting for the draft board to fill up. But next week, I mean the night of the draft, fantasy points, we're looking at the draft a little bit different, and we're going to be doing it here on our YouTube channel. That's Fantasy Points. We're going to be live for day 1, and it looks like day 2 of the draft. Brett, you are fired up for this. You also have Scott, myself, and other members of Fantasy Points. Let's talk about that. What are you expecting that night as it stands right now?
Yeah, it's going to be high, probably the highest level draft coverage you can find between Scott and I. You know, Scott is crunching all the numbers, running the models. I'm over here grinding the tape. I think we'll come together and provide the fans an excellent breakdown of each player drafted. The interesting thing is we kind of did this last year, Scott, inadvertently. I wasn't a member of the Fantasy Points team at that time, but you invited me on the show as a guest, and I ended up staying for 5 hours. So that's kind of how that went, and here we are now as a critical member to the team. I'm in it to win it, so I get to run it back with my boy Scott, and I'm pretty excited about it.
That's right. We're gonna have an all-star cast of guests as well, and honestly, like, turn off Mel Kiper, turn off whatever you're going. You're not gonna find a better programming than with us. I guess maybe I should be sober for it, right?
Well, a little bit.
Maybe
bit.
the back half. Maybe the back half.
Once all the skill players off the board, you're good to go. You can just
Once Zay Flowers goes wide receiver 1, I'm just gonna start chugging.
Dude, I might start drinking if that happens.
See, Derek says Wecht is the true hero grinding XFL during the NFL draft, if we're being honest. Like, we're all gonna be sitting there for the draft, and Chris is gonna be out here grinding XFL DFS for the people. And I gotta say, you gotta love that.
Yeah, Jake
Brett,
Trivia literally asked me today. He's like, what do you want to do about the XFL show next week? I said, well, it's the NFL draft. But we were both like, well, we're probably both going to be gambling on XFL anyway, so we might as well do a show about it.
No, I love that. Chris, we have been drafting in the Superflex format. Because best ball drafters are degenerates, the Superflex format is filled.
The big board is, so we're just doing a regular. This is just a $3 12-man draft, so no big tournament this time.
Love that.
Yeah, people are crazy and somehow filled 100. So the first big board was 100,000 people, and the Superflex one was like 50,000. So already 150,000 drafts have been done, or entrants have been done before the NFL, a week before the NFL draft even happens.
That's just absolutely insane. So can you break down this format, roster size,
so
players,
everything,
etc.?
Literally everything is the same except for the tournament aspect to it. So you're not competing against thousands of people. You're just competing against your 12-man field, and it'll go all the way through weeks 1 through 17. Highest scoring team wins, basically. You don't have to worry about having big playoff weeks or anything like that, like we do with the big ones. So it's kind of like playing a cash game for DFS versus playing a GPP or a big tournament. You don't need to have this random guy that is only getting drafted half the time that gets you through the playoff weeks or something like that.
Then my next question is, while we're waiting for this draft board to fill, should we already be queuing players? Because I got to tell you, the last couple weeks, we have gotten dangerously close to hitting that auto draft scenario. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take a quick couple seconds before 5-second break. When we come back, we're going to start looking at the board, checking out some ADPs, and maybe putting together a plan that will have Scott locked in longer than 5 rounds. Sit tight, everybody. We're going to be right back. Grab a beverage, couple seconds. Can't wait. I'm just gonna get a DM at one point. Scott's gonna be like, "Can you just stop saying that, please?" Like, I'm just like, I know it's coming at some point, but it's my favorite line right now. Okay, well, we're pretty close to being filled here. Brett, guest of honor, do you have a favorite spot? I think I've asked everybody if they have a favorite spot. So, do you have a favorite spot to draft from?
I mean, I usually like early in the draft, but I haven't done a best ball yet this year because the draft has kind of sucked all my time up. So.
Number 1, we're getting the first one. I absolutely love to hear it. Okay, let's go and maybe start looking at some potential queued players, some ADP values on the rookies specifically while we have it here in front of us. Where do rookies start to become less than prosperous?
I'm interested in Brett's take on Bijan Robinson being where he goes off the board. I mean, he's currently RB4 in this format, which I think is pretty much where he was going back in the regular big board. I mean, like, is a rookie, is Bijan that special? And we filled just as we are talking about this, so that's awesome.
Yeah, I think he's that special. I would take him above. Can you show me that running back list again?
Yep. So it's McCaffrey, JT, Eckler, and then Bijan.
This might sound crazy, but I might even like him more than JT. So
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and Eckler if Eckler gets dealt. So
where are you mocking him to? Like, if you could narrow it down to 3 teams or 3 spots, what would it be?
Probably Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say Atlanta. Oh man, I think his ceiling is Atlanta. His floor is the Chargers.
Yeah, I don't see the Chargers doing that. They at least pretend they're super analytics minded.
What's
well, I guess that's Staley's background, was prioritizing the pass over the run. I just don't see that.
I mean, he comes from an LA team that drafted like running back high seemingly every year. So
yeah, but supposedly his whole thing was just neglecting the run on defense and just going all out to stop the pass. Austin Eckler has 0 leverage, so he's back for another year. He basically admitted as much. So I just don't see that. I've heard that. I just don't see that as a possibility at all.
For fantasy purposes, what's the like top 2 places he can land, and then on the flip side, the top 2 worst places he could land?
I mean, Indy, Giants are all bad, but it doesn't really matter. Like, that's just never going to happen. If you're drafting him, you want a bell cow. You're going to give him a bell cow workload.
What's like the Bills is one I've heard a lot, but I think that would be a bad spot for him just because you're competing with Josh Allen rushing TDs and whatnot.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good point. Although we did see Singletary absolutely smash in the playoffs. Brett, who are you taking here?
So Jefferson, this is super flex still, by the way. Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence, McCaffrey. So you can have the best receiver or running back, or take a QB.
What do you guys think?
This is the spot where I think it's okay to go Jefferson or McCaffrey, but I'm open to others.
Why? Because it's not a big tournament?
Yeah.
Scott? I would probably go quarterback just because this format.
Oh, 1 second.
We got you. Anyway, this format is
draft sound on
it's not a best ball tournament. It's a traditional best ball, which is like the easiest way to make money. I know underdogs are sponsored, but like Yahoo is insanely soft competition. There's not a lot of coverage on this because it's just not sexy. Like, winning $1 million is sexy, but it's just so easy to make money playing in a traditional best ball league. All you do is you really prioritize safety over ceiling, where it's a little different in a tournament, and you nail the right roster construction and then you just draft along with fantasy points rankings, and it's just you're gonna win like 33. Like Karain is now a legendary best ball player, but before best ball tournaments existed, there was this guy Aaron H, who I'm friends with, who every year he would put down, I don't know, 200K playing best ball, and he would win 400K playing just traditional best ball. His returns were insane. It was every single year, and it's just, yeah, like I have my favorite late round guys. I never deviate from this roster construction, and that's it. And I just don't reach on players, and I diversify, and it's you're printing money. So again, yeah, let's not get crazy with ceiling. I would draft quarterback just because, that's the most valuable position in this format.
So the last year underdog was legal in my state. I think Chris, you remember my cash rate that year was like 85% or something for best ball tournaments, and I just did $3 and $5 tournaments, so it's pretty easy money.
I don't know, guys. Doing a $25 entry to win $2 million sounds a lot better to me.
Let's lock it in. We're up.
Yeah, I'm
thinking Tua here.
Even with the talks of retirement popping up again.
Tua over Aaron Rodgers.
I think we can get Rodgers.
Then why not take Kupp?
Yeah, I think you're right. We won't be able to get Rodgers back. Rodgers or Tua?
Kupp.
Okay.
This guy's just like, we need to draft a quarterback.
I mean, Jefferson
We're gonna get a
Kupp
receiver though.
It's just nasty. Like, I just like seeing that. I'm like,
well, so I will say this isn't a bad idea because like Scott was saying, in this format, we don't quite need the ceiling at QB that we would likely need in a tournament structure. Like, we can get 4 QBs that will get starting time, maybe not be starters for the whole season, and that could be enough.
That's exactly right. I mean, you still have to finish first out of 12 teams. That's just a lot different than finishing first out of, I don't know, like 900,000 teams.
Yeah, like we could. So when we come back around at pick 31, like Geno, Russell, Wilson, Carr, Kyler, Stafford later, grab
That's
one of the rookies, and then grab, Pickett, Mac Jones late.
That's fine. Yeah, that's totally fine. I do want to grab quarterbacks with at least both of our next 2 picks.
You guys aren't worried that the Rams are just dead?
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's another guy who was supposed to retire, but seemingly Stafford's back. And who is Stafford's boy? We know in game Stafford's going to play. He's going to target Kupp on 40% of his throws.
I don't think McVay comes back if Stafford was out.
Point.
Because McVay's pretty much had one foot out the door for 2 seasons now, and he decided to come back both times. Like him coming back to, because they don't even have pick. Like, what would they do at QB if Stafford was gone?
Looks like we got both D-bros in chat. We got a very D-bro centric chat.
Not kidding. I thought Dan Brown was related to Derek Brown for the longest time until I actually met Derek Brown. And then he debunked that.
Wow.
They kind of look similar. Have you guys noticed this?
No, I haven't noticed. All right, so who do you want here, Brett? Who are you drooling over?
Let me see who's available here.
Bijan's there.
Bijan's there?
Yeah.
No, he's not.
He won't be there by the time we get there.
If he's there, then Bijan.
Yeah, so if we go QB here, it's going to be Geno, Russell, Carr, Kyler.
I mean, those guys don't really separate to me ahead of Jordan Love. But I mean,
no,
the
but
ball just runs dry so fast.
Yeah, we're going to need multiple of them.
Yeah. Yep.
I know Brett has liked Carr for the past few seasons. Do you have the same outlook on him for Raiders versus Saints? Or is it better or worse?
Yeah, I like Carr. I like Carr a little bit. I don't love a lot of these quarterbacks, to be honest. I like Geno. I like Richardson.
Yeah, me too.
There's
just risk in this format to grab a guy who might not start until halfway through the season. If
sure.
You really want that high floor.
So I mean, I think Carr gives you probably the highest floor among these dudes.
No one likes Russell Wilson. We're all out on Russell at this point in his career.
I'm pretty out on him. What about Bryce Young, Scott? I think he's going to be a day one starter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Young on the way back when we come back around. He should still be around.
Oh, did we actually draft Carr?
Yeah.
Dang.
What did you didn't want to do that? You just
Oh no, I was just thinking out loud, and then we ended up drafting him. That's cool. Whatever. I can't see a timer, so I have no idea, like, where we're at in the flow here. But okay.
I'll let you know if we're running out of time as we go.
Yeah, I have a special on the clock button because we came too close to timing out due to arguing over Kelsey being 101 or not in the first one. So I installed this wonderful button to let everyone know when it's time to lock it in.
Nice. Speaking of on the clock, make sure all the viewers check out my daily draft podcast on Spotify or the Apple Podcast Store. Fantasy Points podcast feed on the clock for all your draft news. And
What a segue.
There's a reason. There's a reason I lead with certain verbiage. All right, Brett picked up what I was putting down. We work as a team here at Fantasy Points. That's how we roll. What are we looking at? We have Kupp, Jefferson, and Derek Carr. What's the next?
I mean, Kupp and Jefferson could theoretically fill our 2 wide receiver spots every single week.
I love it, man. That gets me excited. I kind of wish this was a tournament team.
We look back at all our teams at the end of the year, and this is the highest scoring.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
How many picks away are we right now?
3, 2.
Oh, I was going to say Olave would be a nice stack with Carr. How much do you prioritize stacking here?
Not at all. Doesn't mean anything.
I don't think it's not nothing, but it's not
nothing.
the level of tournaments where like you definitely do want to stack.
Although in last week's episode, I said stacking was overrated. I mean, it matters. I just think it's being overrated by the names within the.
Chris, you've done legit analysis on this, haven't you?
Yeah, stacking is pretty important.
I mean, game stacking is no.
All right, we're on the clock here.
In terms of what moves needles, in terms of who's winning championships in recent years,
we're on the clock right now.
The QBs that we were talking about last time are gone. Breece Hall, Tony Pollard, ETN, and then QBs would be Kyler, Jordan Love, Matt Stafford.
What about Stafford? Because we have Kupp.
Yeah, it's probably
a
little bit of a reach, but
yeah. I don't think stacking. I think you'd need to just grab the better player. But
well, I mean, Kupp is not going to be good without Stafford being at least functional.
I mean, I could see him being fine with a backup quarterback. He's just like a PPR machine. But yeah.
It wasn't a PPR machine until Stafford was his quarterback, though. No,
right? Yeah.
I mean, Stafford goes down. What like
was Kupp
double-digit targets?
Has Kupp played without Stafford yet? For like a significant stretch of time?
I don't think so. Yeah. So anyway, the argument is just that does increase your ceiling. I just don't see it.
Russell Wilson.
worth taking a lesser quarterback over a better one. But what were our options? I don't even know.
Kyler Murray,
Kyler, Jordan Love. But some of these guys might be back on the board when we come back.
You don't want Kyler, who could miss an extended period of time.
Yeah, I would agree with that in this format. I would say we never really were in a range to get Kelsey. Something happened here. Gerald Everett went 43 overall. I don't know what this person's doing. Oh, he had to get it with his Justin Herbert stack, I guess.
That's where stacking's overrated right there. My God.
He saw us take Kupp and then Stafford and said, I must get on the stack train, and reached for Gerald Everett way ahead of ADP.
We're out here waging psychological warfare with our opponents, okay? This is
but yeah, I was going to say getting an elite tight end in this format, what I would say is also beneficial because you basically just had to box out 11 other people at tight end.
We
Well,
go
I mean,
to
they're
the next pick then, Hawkinson.
not
He's
necessarily.
an
It doesn't
elite
have to be
tight end.
him, but
Well, elite
Oh,
fantasy.
just messing with you. Yeah, he's fine.
Hawkinson's buns, but yeah.
so running
mean-
back is actually really dried up at this point.
Yeah, it went quick.
I like Love or Bryce Young here, and that gives us a pretty solid floor of QBs to rotate through every week.
Yeah, I like Jordan Love more than Bryce Young due to his mobility.
I mean, you want mobility.
Or
Love is
He's also
not.
a better surrounding roster.
Wait, or did you just call Jordan Love more mobile than Bryce Young?
Yeah.
all right, we're going Jordan Love.
I mean, how many rushing yards? How many rushing yards did Jordan Love have in college? How many
Like,
did Bryce
Probably
Young?
negative 100.
Jordan Love?
Yeah,
Right.
I think he had 100 and something, didn't he? He just did nothing with it. Like he averaged like 2.1, right? Like he ran, but not far.
yeah. His last year he had 175 yards rushing and 0 touchdowns.
Is that by PFF or
No,
CFP?
that's
Where it includes sacks?
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's just one of those
Yards rushing.
narratives. Maybe that's just one of those narratives I've heard and never questioned. To be fair, he was drafted like years ago and hasn't been relative at all.
He's
This is the second time you've really wanted him. Like you pushed Chris and I when we decided to go
that's why-
Kyler when you really wanted Jordan and Love. So I think there's just a deep seated need for Jordan Love from you that you're expressing.
it's the love component there.
Oh,
It's the love. Give him the love. Yeah, no, Jordan Love is not a mobile guy. I mean, he's not immobile.
He does get to throw to Christian Watson though.
Heck yeah, he does. And Dalton Kincaid, soon to be.
Is that our first draft lock of the night?
Okay, here's what it is. Here's what it is.
down.
Ready?
I gotta write it down.
In Jordan Love's only start in his career, he ran the ball 5 times for 23 yards.
Oh,
Super mobile.
Yeah.
hey, that's
not
2.3
really.
fantasy points right there.
That's 2.3.
It's 2.3. I like it. I mean, at least we didn't draft Jimmy Garoppolo, so that's
true.
what matters. Bryce Young is still there, by the way, guys. I don't know if you want 4 QBs, but
We might, but I don't know if we have to take one here.
Christian Watson, if we're into stacking, isn't overrated.
So I'm
We
curious.
could, actually, yeah.
I'm curious
I'm
that
cool with
Anthony
it.
Richardson's just not in the conversation.
Oh,
just
God,
curious
he's still
about
there,
that.
too.
That's actually
Yeah.
not bad as a 4th QB because we don't need him to be.
Swinging on that upside, baby.
Yeah, and he could theoretically win the whole thing for us.
Well, just Brett, with how you've
But-
talked about AR to this point leading up to it, and Scott yourself as well, I just find it interesting that in every draft he hasn't really been a part of the best ball breakdown conversation. So I was just curious about that. While we have Brett here,
He just went. Oh, no, he didn't.
No, he didn't. He's there. So if we did go him here, are we really stretching ourselves thin at like running back?
Do you, with Young, Stroud, Richardson, and Lance all there, do you think one of those guys will be there later?
Potentially, I think we should push it and take either Aaron Jones or Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'd say probably Aaron Jones.
Or what about Jahmyr Gibbs?
You can take him later.
All right, Aaron Jones.
Oh, were we on the clock that whole time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whew. I'm glad I don't realize that, so I'm not stressing myself out over here.
Anyway, here's what I was saying about stacking. Like, I think it's important from the perspective of like the Patrick Mahomes sophomore season. If you had Mahomes, Kelsey, Tyreek, Kareem Hunt, it was basically impossible to advance to the deep into the bonus rounds or win it all without Chiefs players. I like that from a full season upside perspective, but from a single week game stack perspective, I really think it's massively overrated where you're forcing these stacks and you're making suboptimal decisions just to fit a fucking Gabe Davis who sucks on a Josh Allen roster or a Chase Claypool and Darnell Mooney on a Justin Fields roster. It doesn't make any sense to me. If you look at the top quarterbacks in week 17 last year, it was Stidham, Russell Wilson, Sam Darnold, Jared Goff, Purdy,
No, it was
Deshaun Watson. The wide receivers didn't do anything, and it just totally random, trying to get the perfect, week 17 stack. Yeah, I don't see that happening. I would rather just make optimal decisions I know are optimal and grabbing what I think are the best players with the most upside.
I
See,
see what you're saying.
that's where I would push back, is that I think we, as fantasy players, we can overrate what we think is optimal and what we think we know is optimal.
I mean, I think that's what my entire edge is.
Yeah, I'm not so certain. I would say you are definitely somebody that might have an edge there. I'm just talking in general. I think fantasy players overrate what we think we know, and stacking and correlating and whatnot is a way to reduce what you have to get right. It's like trying to bet a 5-leg parlay instead of a 9-leg parlay.
Right.
All four of those QBs just spent, by the way.
Like a DFS GPP. But the difference is we're in these drafts and we're seeing people reaching on a guy by a round and a half or 2 rounds just because they have the quarterback.
JK all day or JSN.
Yeah, I like Dobbins.
I definitely don't like J.K. Dobbins.
Really? 2 years removed from injury, looks solid at the end of the year.
He's got no.
I mean, he did not look solid. Like his numbers look solid.
So do you think some of those numbers were propped up because Greg Roman was there?
I don't know, but Gus Edwards is just as efficient. Lamar doesn't target running backs. They like a committee approach.
Did we take
clips I saw, he looked gross.
I gave Brett that one. We gave you the Jordan Love one last time.
You took Dobbins? Brett, you wanted Dobbins?
I mean, I threw out some names, that's all. We were on the clock.
Over Damian Pierce, Brett?
I mean, Pierce they just signed Devin Singletary, who's probably as good of a player as Pierce, plus
Gus Edwards is better than Singletary.
Okay. I think Gus Edwards fits that scheme well. That's all I'll say. I just think Dobbins is.
Oh, we could have taken Dalvin Cook. Are you kidding me?
No, Cook. Oh, Cook was there.
Yeah,
I said Cook. No one brought up that name.
I said a round ago I liked Dalvin Cook.
He's not going to be a Viking.
I just like Darren Jones more.
And that has to be a little scary, isn't it? Because we know what he is with the Vikings. We know that he's the guy because Madison is, awful. Him going to another team might really make that a really shaky pick.
Shouldn't Madison be going way earlier if we're afraid?
No, because he's going to.
So what do you think they do?
Draft someone or play somebody else.
Well, we just talked about how we think this running back room draft class isn't that awesome anyway.
Whoa, who said that?
Scott said that.
I mean, I think the running back class is very good. It's very deep.
It's just not great for fantasy. It's for especially for start-sit fantasy. For best ball, sure. It's just loaded with complementary players, committee backs.
Yeah.
All right, I want to take Kyle Pitts here.
That was the other name I was going to throw out with the last pick was Kyle.
You take Pitts over Goddard as an Eagles fan?
I like Goddard as well, but I think Pitts has, Pitts could, lead the Falcons in receiving.
He could break fantasy.
Yeah.
He could also break your fantasy team though.
Yeah, he can do both in both ways. It works.
Well, we already have Dobbins on the roster, so we might as well just go all in on the swing for the fences model.
Well, again, we started off the show by saying that's not smart in this format.
Yeah.
But we're couching it around some pretty safe QBs and particularly receivers. You don't. I mean, you got to take some swings. If you finish in fourth, that doesn't really help you either.
I also forgot that this is Superflex, where you lose one wide receiver spot or just one. Yeah.
So it's
you only get starters.
One QB. 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, 1 super flex, and a tight end.
We have a ton of ammo to spend on other positions because we did go the wide receiver start.
Yeah, less wide receivers in this format tends to work out better anyway.
That could be along the lines of my argument with Kelsey 101 is the same thing. It's like, well, you go wide receiver, you free up two roster spots for running backs, or maybe even more than that. Who knows? Damian Pierce has 7 career games with more than 15 carries. J.K. Dobbins has 1 career game.
Is
That's
it
a good point.
is it better with Lamar or without Lamar at QB for Dobbins, or just
would-
really the running backs as a whole?
I assume it would be better for Lamar. These guys aren't, but you also need Lamar to be on his A game, where you're moving down the field with his legs, and they're soaking up touchdowns. And his mobility is like an efficiency cheat code for running backs. I just don't think the touches are there. But who knows? Like you said, he was hurt.
So we are going to come back.
Damian Pierce also
around.
has more career games of 80 rushing yards or more.
But now he has competition in the backfield.
Yeah, which Dobbins has and has always had.
Sure.
And his quarterback is maybe competition.
All right, we're back up again. Rashad White, Algier, Tony, Charbonnet. Any of those names?
Tannehill?
Mixon.
Tannehill?
That's what I was going to say. If we want to get a 4th QB, but I think we should wait longer. I don't know if Tannehill really is the type of guy that really helps us here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm voting Charbonnet.
You love the Charbonnet pick. Like, it's really good. Is
Yeah,
Rashad White a landmine? Like, is he a fantasy landmine? Like, his fantasy points over expected weren't great. He didn't really outperform.
No one knows. It all just depends on if they draft a running back and bring in help or not. As for will they, I have no idea. Should they? He's not that good, but their roster's a mess, and so maybe they shouldn't spend draft capital on a running back.
They've been propping him up a lot this offseason too in the media and stuff. So.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, like that's every team every year is gassing up their young players.
I mean, they've really gassed him up though. It's not typical. It's just, I mean, multiple press conferences with the guy, all the coaches talking about him, any chance they get, players talking about him. I mean, it's been like a concerted effort to prop this guy up. So,
yeah, I would. I guess that's encouraging. I mean, that's where if he is the guy, that's amazing value. Even if he's terrible, he did profile as a bell cow. The counter argument is, the running back who they brought in from, I don't know, JUCO, matched him in just about all of his numbers last year. His offensive coordinator in college too, like always had hyper productive running backs, and he was woefully inefficient as a rookie.
All right, Brett, can Will Levis be good on this team with Carr, Stafford, and Jordan Love already on it?
no.
Okay. Short and sweet. Mixon, Javonte Williams, Burks, Cooks, Dotson, Kamara, Herbert. Anybody?
Kamara.
I like getting some upside.
Kamara's not going to get suspended?
I'm sure he will, but what, 4 games?
I don't know.
4 games for our RB4?
It might be a lot worse than 4 with the video that came out. I think we've talked about that before. That video is really not good. He went sprinting to stomp that foot down. It was not good.
All right, so we probably do need to start adding some wide receivers at this point. And probably type of guys that, can be big hits more than, a Brandon Cooks type, more safety type of level guy there. Brad, what do you think of Jordan Addison going around Michael Thomas, Rashad Bateman, Cortland Sutton, Odell, Elijah Moore, Quentin Johnson's, and Zay Flowers are all. So we're getting really into those first round rookie wide receiver ranges.
Is Quentin Johnson still available?
Yeah, it's the Addison, Quentin Johnson, Zay Flowers are all surrounded by Sutton, Bateman, Michael Thomas.
I prefer Bateman,
Elijah Moore.
group of guys, but
yeah, Elijah Moore. Yeah, Bateman, Sutton, and Dotson probably stick out to me as definitely guys I would want before these rookie guys.
Sutton's cooked. I think. I don't think he's. I think he's
Really?
just done. He is physically he isn't fully healed from what was going on with his knee. The Denver medical staff allegedly ruined him, according to some people. So, I like Dotson or Bateman here, or Elijah Moore if Scott's gung ho on that. I don't have a strong take there. I do like getting Quentin Johnson, but I think this is probably too early.
What about? I mean, Dotson kind of stands out to me at this point in the draft.
Yeah, if he falls to us, I would definitely like that. We just saw Abanikanda go before guys like James Cook, Herbert, Brian Robinson.
Ooh, I like some B-Rob.
Levis goes. All right, James Cook, Khalil Herbert, Bateman, Brian Robinson.
Scott, are you Elijah Moore gung ho for real?
I mean, I like him more than Bateman for sure. More than James Cook, more than Khalil Herbert, more than Brian Robinson.
Bateman's the only one that I would think it's close with, but I definitely like him over everybody else that you mentioned. Plus, there's a pretty nice upside play with Deshaun Watson potentially being anything close to what he used to be, and Elijah Moore being anything close to what he used to be.
Can you pull up the draft grid? I just want to see where Tannehill went, because we say this every single time.
He
But-
went right. at
Yeah, I would
106.
love to replace Jordan Love with Tannehill at that ADP differential. That's just like such good value.
I'm going to throw myself out my window after that comment
Why?
because you're the only one that wanted Jordan Love.
I mean, you said we had to take a quarterback.
So we could have done
Options
Bryce
were
Young
Kyler
or-
Murray, who we get 5 games out of.
So we could have done.
Brock Purdy, who we get 0 games out of. Trey Lance, who we get 0 games
So
out
we
of.
could.
I mean,
have
Brock
done-
Purdy's looking like the starter right now. What are you talking about?
He might
They're
not play
trading
this
Trey
year.
Lance.
He said.
And
He
Trey
said
Lance
2 weeks
is
ago he might not play this
starter of the
year.
Houston Texans.
So we should be drafting Sam Darnold, is what you're saying. Like dynasty fantasy championship winning
just
Sam
a
Darnold.
whole mess of uncertainty, and this is the exact type of format where you want to run away from uncertainty,
I mean, there's uncertainty with Tannehill too, to be fair. So,
which is what they could draft a quarterback.
I mean, they haven't extended him because they don't want to. They're going to probably draft the quarterback. They're tied to.
Did he have any like money to extend him either?
Yeah, they've got money. Extensions don't cost you really anything in the year.
I mean, they traded AJ Brown for basically Treylon Burks last year, supposedly because they had no money.
Yeah.
Or they're just idiots.
All right, we're up here. James Cook, 20 picks after ADP. Bateman is still there. Any of the Zay Flowers?
We got sniped on Johnston. I wanted him.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna just say.
Addison's gone too. I take it. I'm pretty out on Zay for at this stage. So I like Bateman. Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. The Lamar wants
We
wide
took-
receivers. He got
Yeah.
OBJ, but you could take him.
OBJ's what is he?
I know, man, but it just doesn't seem like they're that fond of Bateman, who's a player I was never really that fond of, and he's never showed us anything for
I
me.
mean, he shredded when he was
go
on the
back
field
against
last year, though.
He what?
He shredded when he was on the field last year.
I mean, he had one really impressive play where he outran a defender and broke off a long run, but that was it. Otherwise, he was just running a route on 60% of teams' dropbacks. He wasn't even a full-time player. It was very weird.
So with Best Ball Mania 4 likely launching after the draft next week, what would be like the ideal structure of that for you guys? So last year it was 2 million to first. They also did a $1 million prize to just the overall regular season person. Do you like that? Would you rather them structure it totally differently?
I don't know. I don't think I have a take on this.
Give me all the money to first.
Yeah, that would be sick, actually.
Well, that would
Nothing-
be a
nothing
quick
for
way to
anything
lose all
else.
your money.
$10 million to first.
Do you
How
think
much
we
do you
ever?
think that is?
I bet it's more than 2 million to first. I bet it's like 2.5 ish, something like that. I bet they hand out a little bit more money to the regular season stuff too. A lot of people seemed like they were clamoring for wanting some more money for, just drafting a good team and not because the variance of the playoffs weeks is so big.
We're one pick away here. Good God, this is a A dumpster fire.
If we wanted to do a fourth QB, Jacoby Brissett is probably the last decent one remaining.
I would rather Darnold.
What about not here though, right?
Yeah, not
No,
here.
but he goes like
Schultz at another tight end. Mooney,
Schultz
Sky.
fine.
Good God, this is awful. All right, Schultz, I guess.
I mean, click on tight ends and see how gross it gets.
It gets pretty gross pretty quick.
Jawan Johnson, please, one time.
Yeah,
we have Carr.
Oh.
Like, this is the one time I should get my Jawan Johnson.
I know, Thomas.
I would have been down with that, but
I have been trying for 5 weeks.
I'm pretty sure the first show ever you brought up Jawan Johnson.
these guys don't like Jawan.
I don't not like him. He just never. I just feel like I'm usually when I get to this range, I'm like, oh, I could take Jawan Johnson, or I can wait a little longer and take Kincaid, or even Hayden Hurst.
He just feels like just a guy to me, but maybe I'm missing something.
Like, yeah, if he was going around this Kincaid Hurst tier, I would probably like him a lot more.
All right, click on the running back tab for me.
Mostert, Zeke, Spears, A-Chain. I think Spears has recently passed A-Chain in ADP, and there's definitely been some talk about him going pretty early in the draft, or on day 2 anyway. Does that seem reasonable to you, Brett?
Yes, dynasty or in football fantasy formats. God, searching for the right term there. He should be ahead of A-Chain probably. I like Spears or
You can take your boy Hyatt.
Yeah, we could. That's actually not a terrible play with the receivers we have, Jefferson and Kupp. Trying to smash some big week upside there.
I think RB gets pretty gross here shortly.
You can take A-Chain and we'll just win all the money if he lands in Miami.
Why? They don't throw running backs the ball, and he's too small to run in that scheme.
Is he?
Scott, he's too small to play flag football with my 7-year-old. What do you mean?
He can't just get a dozen carries and break free with his ridiculous speed.
7 of them, so I don't know. I don't think they would do that.
Everyone's saying that's the perfect landing spot, and it's game over. You don't think he could play in that scheme?
No, I don't. I just said that I don't think he could.
I mean, Tevin Coleman kind of had the same.
Tevin Coleman was 215 pounds, Scott.
Yeah, but it was the same style of runner, like elite speed.
He was the size of an actual man, though. I don't know what you're missing here.
As Brett would say, he's got to get his weight up.
Got to get his weight up.
Got to get the weight up.
I was told he is the Tyreek Hill of RBs.
I've said I'm on record saying if he was announced as a wide receiver on draft day, I'll move him up a whole round in my rankings.
Well, Dane Brugler said that's a real possibility, and in which case, we're drafting a wide receiver at running back. That's a huge win.
Yeah.
Do you think he looked good as a receiver?
Oh, do
Greg
we?
Cassell said the same thing.
Yeah, he actually has so like a lot of people say this about running backs, like, oh, you can just play him in the slot. Well, that's really not true. They don't have the change of direction skills. They don't have the route running prowess. He does. So he's the same size as all these guys. He's bigger than Josh freaking Downs. Like, come on.
Yeah. So my question is, how are you seeing that when he averaged 5.4 yards per catch last season? Everyone's saying freakish receiving talent, but 5.4 yards per reception is so bad.
Where did he play at in college?
Texas A&M.
What was the scheme they ran?
Okay. How does 5.4 yards per reception happen? Tell me. For a guy who is a running back who's good enough to play wide receiver.
Incorrectly used with a bad quarterback and a bad offensive scheme.
Yeah, if you're that, name one player ever who averaged 5.4 yards per reception and was worthy of being.
I don't know. I don't box score scout grind. I don't really know the answer to that. So
the answer is 0.
Well,
maybe he's an all-time film outlier who's.
I don't like him. You're trying to make me advocate for him. So
you love him. You said he's going to kill in Miami. I said he's a terrible fit there.
All right. Okay. All right. I'm back to throwing myself out the window.
All right, we're on the clock here. Hyatt Shaheed, I think, is interesting.
I mean, they're the same player. The difference is 7 rounds of draft capital.
That's
Hyatt,
fair.
Hyatt or Kendre would be my. You want to go receiver though, so
I mean, I'm fine going running back too if you like Kendrick.
Hyatt's-
you know what? Derek Brown said never Hyatt earlier in the draft, so we have to draft Hyatt. 'Cause
Hyatt.
All right.
I want 2023 Jalen Guyton. Come on.
We drafted Kendry Miller. We're going to draft Kendry Miller where we should have drafted Zach Charbonnet and vice versa. Hot take.
Yeah, I mean, I like both guys, so you're not going to get me to have a hot take about that.
Oh, well, that's a bit extreme even. He's one of those guys where it's just, I'm not seeing anything special, but if his projected draft capital is good or where it's, everyone's saying it's going to be, yeah, he looks like a bell cow.
Who? Charbonnet?
Charbonnet, yeah. If draft capital is where everyone's saying it's going to be, then yeah, he's an awesome pick.
Scott, your model doesn't factor in draft capital yet, right?
No.
Is
So right
there-
now it's saying
annually put it in. No.
So right now it's saying Charbonnet has ideal bell cow size and he had bell cow usage, which is great, but just his efficiency metrics weren't good enough for him to be the sort of running back who can start as an RB1, dominate touches for multiple years in a row. But then phase 2 of the model, I incorporate projected draft capital, which throws out a lot of these efficiency metrics and says, no, this is how good this running back is. He's a round 2 caliber talent. And then so factor that in. If he goes RB3, like everyone says, then he'll skyrocket up my ranking.
He averaged 7 yards a carry last year. What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, okay, that was also true of a number of Chip Kelly running backs. Mikel LaShore.
Mikel LaShore.
He also had easily the best offensive line
Mikel
of any
LaShore
running
plays
back in this
for-
class. Who am I thinking of then? The other guy.
Ryan Matthews. in
No.
Philadelphia. I don't know. LaMichael James.
Yeah, there we go. Let's get those two mixed up. Why do you know why he didn't pan out at the
Yeah.
NFL level?
Bad knees, no flexibility, and he was very small, like 190 pounds.
Yeah.
We're on the clock here. Any of these running backs interest you? I mean, it's not going to be pretty the rest of the way, but we definitely need to bulk up at running back.
Do you like handcuffing Dobbins with Edwards, Scott, or no? Or you don't do that?
No, in this format you could.
I don't think so.
Isn't Chuba the uncontested starter right now in Carolina?
Miles Sanders,
Oh yeah, my bad.
Mike Beers has actually some articles on that. You
Jerome
never
Ford.
We gotta take someone.
handcuff a running back.
I took Jerome Ford.
Who are the wide receivers?
There's lots of them. Palmer, Dubs, MVS, Downs, Shaheed, and then we're going to get into. I know Brett likes some of the later undrafted rookies, so I figure we really only need to add one, maybe two receivers.
How many picks do we have left?
We have 4 picks left, so one of them or two could be a receiver. We could add a third tight end, but definitely don't need to. We're done at QB, I'd say, unless you want to add like Darnold. That's probably the only other really interesting QB. So it's 1 or 2 receivers, probably at least one more running back. I don't know. Does a third tight end interest you on the team with Pitts and Schultz already?
Not tremendously, but
I'd grab one more wide receiver.
All right, we definitely need another running back. Who's your dart throw running back? Is there a rookie left that still interests you, or do you think you just take a handcuff like Hubbard and, if Sanders gets hurt, he gets, a lot more work?
let me look here.
Evan Hall,
Chase Brown, the highest rated running back available.
Dwayne McBride, Deuce. We're not going to talk about Deuce.
You have
Vaughn.
Chase Brown above McBride, Brett?
Yeah, I do. Chase Brown, I think, can be a 3-down back in the right scheme. I do think the draft capital investment is going to surprise people with Brown as well. He's another guy similar to Ebekananda, where like you just can't find a guy with his measurables and his production go on day 3. Those guys go on day 2. Big Ten player, 1,600 yards or something ridiculous last year. He's a 4'4", 40 guy. He's big. He's like 215 pounds. Like he's just not.
He was 209 pounds.
At the
But he's a little under 5'10".
We can wait on Brown. He's not going to go between our next pick. Marvin Mims is a guy that we could miss out on if we don't take him here.
I mean, we're all Mims guys here.
Yeah, so Brown weighed 214 at the Senior Bowl, Scott. So I think that's his play.
Oh, okay.
I think he cut a little bit to run.
Mm.
Brett, did you see I forget what major draft guy it was, if it was like Zerline or Daniel Jeremiah. I saw a report that the NFL might not be as high on Mims as the rest of the community is.
Like everybody's been saying that.
Okay.
Yeah. Although Lance Zierlein said he thinks the NFL is trying to, some teams he spoke to are trying to keep him a secret.
Good luck.
So you're not worried about his draft?
No,
capital at all
I'm
at this
super
point?
worried. I'm super worried. Yeah.
I think he'll be a day 2 pick, I think, easily.
It sounds like round 3, round 4.
I'll go late round 2. Early.
Bob McGinn today said the same thing. Round 3, round 4.
So then who are your round 2 wide receivers? Like Downs, Tyler Scott.
On Downs. I like Tyler Scott quite a bit.
I'm just there's not a lot of other receivers that I feel are locked round 2 guys if you take Mims out of it.
I mean, there's one round 1 wide receiver in this class. There's like 2.
You can't say that just because one guy said that.
No, so I'm saying like just talent wise, like that's what I'm saying. But because it's such a valuable position, just because there are so many open jobs, you're going to see way more than that. And so it's kind of hard to have this conversation. And the talent of caliber of that player versus, I mean, Brett, you can disagree, but just from what I'm seeing and what I'm also hearing is it's a really weak class. But you're going to get these guys in round 1, round 2 because the need is there.
It's not a really weak class. I think people are misinterpreting what guys like Jim Nagy are saying. There's just not any. Like we've had drafts with 5 studs. There's not 5 studs in this class. There's 1 stud-ish. And then the depth of the class, those in the 2nd and 3rd round. I would much rather draft a Jaden Reed or Tyler Scott in the 2nd round than Zay Flowers in the 1st round. So you're going to find.
I mean, we're talking
in the 2nd round. I think
right, but we're talking from a fantasy perspective. Is Jaden Reed going to be a guy you can rely on and start every week? No. So, like from a fantasy perspective, you do care.
Can you normally? What 2nd round picks can you normally rely on like that?
I mean, historically, over the past like 12 years, round 2 wide receivers have been better than round 1 wide receivers.
Alec Pierce was a guy I know a lot of people, like maybe not going into the draft, really cared about, but then he got drafted in round 2, and people, I mean, I don't know if I'd say you could rely on him, but he was definitely usable.
I mean, he was a starter. Is it like, do you think, can you see Jaden Reed as a starting wide receiver too?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
in the right circumstance, yeah. But there's other guys though too. It's not just Jaden Reed. It's Tillman. It's John Mingo. It's Tyler Scott, Rashee Rice, Marvin Mims, A.T. Perry. Like these guys are all very talented dudes. Michael Wilson, like John Mingo's getting mocked in the 1st round now. So,
yeah, I think what's the typical bust rate on these wide receivers? I think you take that, and
it's because they get drafted because it's a higher volume of 17 of them are get drafted on day 1 and 2. That's the average the last 5 years.
Right. I think the bust rate is going to be a lot higher this year, at least from what I'm seeing. Assuming the NFL doesn't correct and these guys go lower than where they're projected.
There's too many people, too many teams need receivers.
Right. And so I think this class is riddled with Kendall Wrights. Like you're going to see a bunch of guys. You're going to see a bunch of guys who are productive for year 1, year 2, strictly on volume, and then they just disappear.
Okay. Do you think some of the reason people think this class has been, I don't know, downgraded is because of the hype leading into it, and B, how spoiled we've been with dominant fantasy rookies over the last 3, even 4 years? The drafts have been stellar for dynasty teams, and this one just feels like it's gotten knocked down a peg.
So we've been super spoiled in recent years, but from 2015 to 2019, there were 17 wide receivers drafted in round 1. Only one ever made a Pro Bowl. There was like a really gross stretch. And so it's just sometimes how it is. Sometimes you get the Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle year, and then sometimes you get the Corey Coleman year. But I mean, like, again, JSN's a beast. I have it Mims. What's that?
Is Chase Brown still there, Chris?
We got him last time.
Oh, we got him last time. Okay.
We're still looking at running backs.
I have Mingo in the queue right now, but I'm just seeing what other running backs are out there.
Looks like we took Mingo.
Yeah, we have one more pick left.
What do we need?
Justin Ross.
His ADP is climbing.
It's because Mahomes talked about him the other day.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's going to be round 15. And you're going to beg me to take.
We don't need an 8th receiver for this team.
No, we
What
don't.
about tight end? Do we have 2 tight ends or 3?
We have 2.
2.
So we could take a tight end. Tight end or running back is what this next pick needs to be.
You think Sam Laporta could be a guy year 1?
I don't really like betting on tight ends year 1, but
Right.
if he lands in the right spot, that's the thing. It's like tight ends are so landing spot dependent.
Do any of these tight ends come close to being landing spot agnostic in that they could be fantasy producers in year 1, you think?
If one of them, it'd be Laporta.
Really?
The guys that are left. Yeah, the guys that are left.
No. I meant like of Kincaid,
Yeah,
Mayer.
Kincaid.
So
Why not Mayer?
I think Mayer might need some time to adjust to this. Oh, Luke Musgrave is still there, guys. I would take him. I think Mayer's going to need some time to adjust to the speed of the NFL.
Musgrave won't?
No, Musgrave is faster than most of the linebackers in the NFL.
Right, but I mean, he's had 2 games over 60 receiving yards in his college career. Mayer had 30.
Okay, I think Musgrave's a better player, better receiver.
Yeah, I know. I keep hearing that. That's just crazy to me, but
any running backs better than Musgrave? I mean, McKinnon, if he lands back in Kansas City, is a smash pick at this spot.
That's true.
Hassan Haskins handcuff upside.
I just think Haskins is bad.
Kenny McIntosh? Or do we have too many rookies? Probably have too many rookies.
I like Kenny McIntosh.
Yeah, but we don't want 4 rookies, do we?
It's not. It's fine. I mean,
What about Zonovan?
There's a lot of backs on the Jets.
Right. The vets can lose ground on draft day. The rookies can gain ground quite a bit.
That's a good point.
Chiefs draft McIntosh and no other running backs.
We took Musgrave.
Okay. It's probably a dead pick, but that's all right.
Most round 20 picks are dead picks.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we probably should have chased for more upside then.
Well, then we did with Musgrave. It's an upside pick.
I mean, not when you have Kyle Pitts and Dalton Schultz, and you can only really start one.
Yeah, but you're still raising your floor at a position that, you know, you're just trying to beat 11 other people at.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, so our team is Derek Carr, Stafford, Jordan Love at QB, Aaron Jones, J.K. Dobbins, Charbonnet, Kamara, Tyjae Spears, Jerome Ford, and Chase Brown. Receivers, Justin Jefferson, Kupp, Elijah Moore, Bateman, Jalen Hyatt, Marvin Mims, Jonathan Mingo, and tight end is Kyle Pitts, Dalton Schultz, and Luke Musgrave. And that is all.
We're way over leveraged on rookies, but
I mean,
it really doesn't bother me. I think Kupp and Jefferson stay healthy. I think we definitely win this league. Definitely.
nice. The only pick I really didn't love, other than Musgrave at the end, was probably the Jerome Ford pick. I didn't like that one.
Why? What do you not like about Jerome Ford?
I mean, I like him. I just can't see him really getting on the field there.
How? I mean, what are they going to Kareem Hudson? Unless
So if Nick Chubb gets hurt, that's huge upside. And then Kareem Hunt forced a timeshare. Maybe Ford's not that caliber of a player, but they did go that route at some point.
I mean, another running back is going to play every week with Chubb. I don't know if it's Ford, but
Mhm.
he's got the best chance at it being him right now.
Yeah.
But it's
And it's
also they probably draft someone.
They might, or they
He's not a
they probably
receiver
do at
like
some
Hunt
point.
was.
But how big of an investment at running back would they have to make for you to be scared of?
I mean, Ford was only a round 5 pick. Like I don't think it takes much to. That's what I was trying to say before about Rashad White too. It's like, okay, they spent a round 3 pick on him, but like you can draft. It's a great deep running back class.
They can find a complementary piece pretty easily.
Yeah, round 4 or round 5. I'm getting worried just based on what he did as a rookie.
Yes, that's my argument with Dameon Pierce. It's only a 4th round investment. Like the
So
added Singletary, they can also draft the guy relatively easy to kind of,
the one difference is he went round 4, but it was like one of the first picks round 4, and then he intentionally gave him day 2 money in the contract, and then he was also just awesome. He was like basically the starter from week 1, and he put up good numbers on a really bad team.
Yeah.
Who's the best round 4/5 running back you think right now?
Like being projected in that range?
Yeah.
Aaron Jones, where did he
Like
go?
who is the running back if he lands on some of these teams, like where Jerome Ford is, or
You're
Rashad
talking
White, that you
rookies,
should
right?
actually,
From the rookie class?
yeah, like who do you think is actually scary? Like, because that's not a lot of draft capital, but like maybe they could really, like, if you're an owner in Dynasty or drafting best ball, whatever, you have Algier, Jerome Ford.
I mean,
Rashad
let me
White.
start with this. How many running backs do you guys think will go on day 1 and 2 combined?
5, 6, maybe.
I think like 3
I
or
think
4.
I think 7 are going to go on day 1 and 2.
Because there's a lot of good running backs in this class, but like there's just no jobs, and it's a great free agency class, a bunch of beasts available in the open market. I think it just really drives it down where teams are like, why would I take a running back here when I can wait 2 rounds, or I could still sign Melvin Gordon or Leonard Fournette or whatever the fuck.
So like last year's class was buns, Scott, and we had 6 go on day 1 and 2 last year. This class is significantly better.
So it's
But it's
Bijan.
something about it being better. Maybe it just
No, it is significantly better.
right. I know, but I'm saying maybe they think they can wait because it's deeper. It's so much deeper. But no, that's a good point.
So it's what? It's Bijan, Gibbs are lock. Charbonnet is a lock. That's 3, and then
Let's say-
Spears,
Seems like Roshan is a lock too from everybody I've talked to.
Roshan. That's 5. A
I,
chain is
I
6.
wouldn't say Spears is a lock necessarily, by the way. I know
Really?
we like him. The Senior Bowl crowd that went and saw him live liked him. He's kind of sexy because he's like this. Like no one knew who he was 3 months ago because he played at Tulane. Now everyone's all up on him. Like I think he'll go day 2. I'm just saying I don't think he's a lock. I think Eben Akonda's a lock.
All right, so we're easily getting to 5 or 6 though.
I think Eben Akonda's 5, and then you have like Spears, Bigsby, Miller, and Chase Brown that could all get in that conversation as well.
So we're easily 5, probably 6.
And then there will be a surprise. Like last year, Tyrion Davis Price was a 7th round player for me. He went in the 3rd round. So like there could be a surprise too, like Keaton Mitchell or something stupid. Devin A-Chain. We forgot about A-Chain.
Well, he's supposed to go round 2.
Oh, I was counting him.
I wasn't counting him. I have
Oh.
Bijan, Jameer, Charbonnet, Roshan. Eben Akonda's 5. A-Chain is 6. Then you've got some combo of Spears, Bigsby, Miller, Chase Brown. You know.
All right, so then so given that, who's the round 4 or 5 guy that could actually be a threat to some of these?
I'm trying to establish a cutoff is what I'm trying to do, so I can tell you who I actually think will go.
I'm thinking like Zach Evans, Dwayne McBride.
Evans is Kenny McIntosh. How about him?
Yeah, Kenny McIntosh.
I think he lands on a team in the 5th round. I think he gets on the field immediately as a rookie because he can catch the ball, he can pass protect, and he's a pretty good runner, and he's big. So I think he's a guy who could wreck some fantasy lives this year.
Cool.
Like yeah, if Cleveland drafted him in the 5th, I think he gets on the field before Jerome Ford does.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that.
Interesting.
Somebody got that message. No, fantastic. This is a great draft. I had a great time, Brett. Well, we're gonna take a quick second. We come back. I'm gonna get some more information about what you are doing leading up to the draft. So sit tight, everyone. We'll be right back. Just a couple of seconds. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Brett Whitefield. Enjoy. Okay, Brett, what are you doing for the people leading up to the draft? I know you have been grinding every day with pods galore, guests, fantastic. But what are you doing leading up to the draft at this point? What could you possibly have left?
Yeah, so I'm still doing the daily pod. I'm still doing write-ups. So we're still getting defensive guys in the prospect guide. They should all be in there probably like end of day tomorrow, Friday. But regardless, still working on that. I did double back with Scott this afternoon actually and asked him to take a look at the offensive guys and let me know if there's anybody he wants written up that's not in there.
Oh, I begged him to write up a guy who's guaranteed not to get drafted.
I'll do it. I'll write him up for the people. Probably a couple running backs I'm going to add. I don't think I have any Muhammad Ibrahim in the prospect guide, so I'm going to write him up. I'm going to write up Cameron Peoples. Going to write up Dorian Thompson Robinson from UCLA. Might get to probably like 5-6 more receivers as well. So that's mainly what I'm doing. My board is basically set, though. I can't see anybody cracking my top 150 that I haven't watched. So
did you do Deuce Vaughn yet?
I know. I watched him, yeah, but I just didn't care enough to write him up. So
yeah, I know. I just did the write up on him.
Why'd you do that to yourself?
I know. Because people think, yeah, if this guy was 3 inches taller and 30 pounds heavier, he'd be going round 2.
That's a big if.
I know. I'm like, yeah, you're not going to change that. He's not going to magically grow 3 inches.
You know what? I did write up Deuce Vaughn.
Did you?
Oh, you went back and you checked it. What do you got?
I checked. I mean, you guys can check that out in the prospect guide.
Oh, look at that.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
Check it out.
Yeah, check it out. All you need is a free account to fantasypoints.com and you can log in and get access to that prospect guide for free.
Yeah, again, you guys did it for free, which is it's absolutely insane to get that level of prospecting for no cost. All it costs is your time to sign up for a free Fantasy Points account. I don't understand why you wouldn't do that. It's just absolutely nutted me. Look, Brett, one thing I like to do is I like to ask for final thoughts before we get out of here. Final thoughts on today, the draft.
I think Scott and I are probably due for some serious arguments on the live draft pod. But I will say this, just reflecting in real time here, going back to that receiver conversation we just had. So Scott's telling me this receiver class is bad. I've heard it from other people as well. I think the thing I have a hard time doing, and I'm like admitting this in real time, is I have a hard time viewing things through the lens of fantasy football because it's not my like I've learned fantasy as I got into the football space. It wasn't the other way around. So sometimes that is difficult for me. I will say this though, in that year I mentioned already, Scott, where everyone told me the 2019 wide receiver class was bad. I had a top 15 grade on AJ Brown, a top 15 grade on DK Metcalf, a round 1 grade on Terry McLaurin. I was right about that class. Oh, a top 50 grade on Deontay Johnson. I was right about that class. Everyone else was wrong. So I'm pounding the table for my guys this year just as confidently as I did that year.
Yep. I will just say I'm in pre-draft stages. My tight end article is done. Wide receivers done. Running backs will drop after the draft. Then I'll release my full rookie rankings. What will go into that is draft capital, and also Brett's film grades will have an impact. Right now, we're just strictly analytics profile. But so yeah, Brett's scores, Brett's grades, those are predictive, really predictive, and that will factor in.
Chris, what are you doing for the XFL fans this week and next week? Because I know you're doing it.
Yeah, I know. First run of projections. Jake and I are just tweaking them tonight, and they'll be up tomorrow. There'll be a show on Friday, like there always is, and we'll run it. This is the last week of the regular season, and then we got playoffs. So don't want to miss them.
Man, playoff XFL. We've waited our whole lives for this moment. So exciting.
You know what? I should have had Chris do.
What?
Scott, I should have had. So like I did basically wide receivers 1 through 30. I should have had Chris write up 30 through 60 so we can get a jump start on the XFL guys for the next few years.
Oh.
That's right. I know. Brett, why did you do an NFL draft guide when you could have just done an XFL draft guide?
Dude Swan or RB1.
Oh, hell yeah.
These
That's
are the
hilarious.
important things that need to be done moving forward. Look, I had a great time. We all had a great time. Remember, you can head to Underdog Fantasy, use promo code FANTASYPTS. You can go sign up for a free fantasypoints.com account, get the prospect guide. Just absolutely phenomenal content. Remember, we're drafting a best ball team next week. That's right. So
Whoa.
Fantasy Points is going to be live Wednesday, Thursday, twice on Friday. It's just absolutely phenomenal. You're not going to want to be anywhere else. Hit that sub button. And as always, leave a comment below. Tell us where we screwed up. Let us know what our worst pick was, what our best pick was, what you would do differently. Tell us that Scott's shirts needs to be washed. Doesn't matter. Just leave a comment. It helps us out. Hit the sub button. We appreciate all of you. Same bat time, same bat channel next week. Don't miss it. Have a good evening.